Hello there, viewers, subscribers, and especially to my members. Welcome to another video. I put a poll out on LinkedIn recently asking what you wanted from me in terms of some next video content, and there were votes across all of the categories that I put in place, but overwhelmingly so far you want to see more about Microsoft Purview, which makes me very happy because Purview is my happy place. I've not really done much on Purview of late, so it's about time we revisited it, and I thought it was a good opportunity to get back into something that really started off this channel almost a year ago. That's an exam guide. I think everyone loves an exam guide, right? So this is going to be the first in a new series relating to Microsoft Purview. It is going to be the SC-400 Information Protection Administrator Associate, I think the qualification is. We'll clear that up and make sure we've got that right. But an exam guide. So there's going to be a lot of content to get through on this. You can be sure. So this is going to keep us going for a while. I'm not saying every video will be specifically this over the coming weeks. We'll dip in and out of it, and it's going to take time. But I'm excited to do this. I really am. I love doing exam guides. I love helping people to learn and study for qualifications, Microsoft certs. I will put a little disclaimer on this right away that this is by no means going to be complete. There's no such thing, in my opinion, as a complete exam guide. So hopefully you'll get a good amount from this guidance and what I refer you to and demo to you, but there's always more to learn. So look at other sources of learning. Learn.microsoft.com I will reference a lot. You can get a lot of information from there. There really is too much content in the exam to cover exhaustively. By the time we got to the end of the video series, we would have to start again. So nice problem to have, I guess, but there are other topics I want to talk about, other things I want to do. Anyhow, with that, let's get into the first video. What we're going to talk about, the first item on this study guide for SC-400, Information Protection, all about Microsoft Purview, is very interesting indeed. It's sensitive information types. Yeah, I know. But it's an important place to start, right? It's because nearly everything in Purview uses sensitive information types, or SITs, as they are more commonly referred to. You can have a whole host of baked-in Microsoft sensitive information types that are available to use across other programs within Purview, like DLP, sensitivity levels, etc., retention. You can create your own as well. In this video, I'm going to show you how you do that. Check it out. So let's begin by having a look at the exam study guide for the SC-400 exam. This exam is called Administering Information Protection and Compliance in Microsoft 365. As you would expect, we are going to spend the majority of our time in this guide in the Microsoft Purview Compliance portal. Let's have a look, see what we've got in here. Okay, as we scroll down, we can see some updates to the exam. Take great care that you are checking in to see what the skills measured are when they're updated. They are periodically updated, so do be aware of that. The latest one, as of the recording of this video, as per this document, is August the 22nd, 2023. So what should candidates for this exam have experience of? Well, it should include Microsoft 365 services consisting of M365 apps, Exchange Online, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams. And it's going to help you enormously to be familiar with PowerShell. The 5 key areas of study that we will be breaking down in this exam course are implementing information protection. That's going to consist of 25 to 30%. Implementing DLP, a big subject in and of itself, 15 to 20%. Data lifecycle and records management, that's all things retention, which is going to consist of 12 to 15%. Monitoring and investigating data and activities using Purview, a whopping great chunk of this 15 to 20% covered there. And finally, 15 to 20%. They're all about that level, actually, so it wasn't really whopping. Manage insider and privacy risk in Microsoft 365. Okay, so we are going to start on this video with this first section, which is implementing information protection. As you can see, each section is broken down into subsections. So we've got creating and managing sensitive information types, creating and managing trainable classifiers, and so on and so forth until we get to the next large section. So you can see there's a lot of content we've got to go through here, and it's going to take quite a few videos, I would think, but we're going to get started right now with creating and managing sensitive information types. Now, looking at this, what I think we'll cover in the first video is these first 3 bullet points, talking about sensitive information requirements for an organization's data, translating sensitive information requirements into built-in or custom sensitive information types, and then creating or managing custom sensitive information types. I'm leaving out the last 2 from this video for very good reason, because on their own, these are 2 very complex subjects and deserve their own videos. So EDM, exact data match in particular, is quite a weighty topic and deserves its own video. So on this particular video, we're going to dive into the Microsoft Purview admin portal or admin center, whatever you want to call it, at compliance.microsoft.com, and we're going to go through all things sensitive information requirements and how we translate that into those built-in or custom sensitive information types, and then we'll look at how to create and manage a custom information type. So, as I said, for the most part in these videos for SC-400, we will be spending our time in the Microsoft Purview Compliance portal, which at the moment you access from compliance.microsoft.com. Now, you may be aware from watching some of my previous videos that a new Purview portal is on the way. I'll just show it to you here, and it's purview.microsoft.com. And this is very much a work in progress. It is usable, but what you will find is if you view the solutions and you go to them, then you are very likely going to see a Compliance Manager, for example. We will click on here. It's going to take you into the existing experience. So we may as well work just from the compliance portal that we have at the moment until the new purview.microsoft.com portal gets more developed and gets its own pages. So just to point that out to you, that is the distinction, that is what we have at the moment. But let's expand out the Purview compliance portal side menu here, and we want to talk all about sensitive information types in this first video, which you are going to find under data classification and classifiers. And here we go. You will see the top 3 headers right here for classifiers. Trainable classifiers are going to come in the next section. EDM classifiers will come in the next video to this. We are going to talk all about sensitive information types in this particular video. So, what are these? What do you do with them? Well, sensitive information types, or SITs, are absolutely the backbone of this process. So many features within the Microsoft Purview compliance portal will reference these sensitive information types. They pop up in sensitivity labels, they pop up in DLP, they pop up in all sorts of other places, as you will see as we go through the series. But what exactly are they? Well, these are built-in types that are available to use in your security compliance policies, and they include a large collection of types provided by Microsoft that span regions around the globe, as well as any custom types that you have created. So for any organization, it's important to think about the data that they are storing and how that is going to be classified and protected. And this is really the core element that comes into play here. This is what is going to be measured against that data and applied to that data in the form of things like those sensitivity labels and DLP policies and so on and so forth. And you can see that there is a large list of these built-in ones. In fact, some of these may have been added by me previously, because you can do custom ones, as you can see here, by creating a sensitive information type. And there's 318 items in here, so it's not an insignificant list. You can see the list by name here, and you can see by type, and there's many different types. There's entity types, bundled credentials, and so on and so forth. And you can see who the publisher is. And for the most part, they're going to be built-in ones from the Microsoft Corporation, as it says here. But if we just change that and sort descending, then you can see at the bottom of the list, we've got a few that have been set up by me. It has my tenant name on them rather than the Microsoft as the publisher. And what we have here is we have a couple of entries for entity types and exact data matches. We're going to cover exact data match, as I said, in the next video, so be on the lookout for that. And the video after that, we'll talk about document fingerprinting, or fingerprint-based sensitive information types. And it'll all start tying together and making sense to you. But let's just resort that and put it as ascending to get back. So what you can do is you can search through this list, because it's quite extensive, as we can see. And if we search by, for example, the country that I'm in, the UK, now you have to be very specific with how this is typed. I think it's UK U.K. that we search for, and there we go. We can see all of the available United Kingdom sensitive information types that are baked into the classifiers section here under sensitive information types. We have UK driver's license number, electoral roll numbers, National Health Service numbers, and you can start getting an idea of how these could be applied to different types of organizations. For example, in my day job at the moment, I'm working quite heavily with a UK National Health Service trust. So this sort of thing is extremely relevant to them. National Health Service number, which is effectively a patient number for patients within the United Kingdom. National insurance number as well, also quite relevant when it comes to public health. But then you've got things like taxpayer reference, so that might link to financial records and that sort of thing. And then UK physical address, so on and so forth. If we look at these individually, let's pick on the UK National Health Service number, for example. What do we see inside this particular built-in sensitive information type? Well, what we get is an overview of what it is. So we're not really seeing anything relevant in here, but on the actual overview section, but it just gives you a little bit of a dashboard view where you can see what feedback results there are here, how many matches there have been, or items that are not a match, and you can provide feedback. You can go into the matched items tab rather here and see whether this sensitive information type has matched to any documents or emails or Teams messages within certain tools like DLP, sensitivity labels throughout your organization. What you can do is you can test this, you can copy it, you can edit it, or you can delete it. You obviously can't edit or delete a built-in one, but you can with customized ones. So if you wanted to test a sensitive information type, then what you could do is you could actually upload a file which contains or otherwise something you know is going to be a match to a UK National Health Service number. So if you have documents that you know is going to have that content in, you could upload the file here and you could get a clear recognition of if it is or isn't a match. So that's a really good way of testing those sensitive information types. So what have we got here in the details? Under description, it's telling you everything it's going to do. It's going to detect a UK National Health Service number. The confidence level of that being an NHS service number is set to high here. It's created by Microsoft. Then we've got patterns as part of it. And we can see that we have pattern number 1 here, and a primary element function. And the processes here are function UK NHS number. We then have character proximity settings here as well. So we can detect primary and supporting elements within matching content within 300 characters. This is set to. Supporting elements, these are pretty much as the term describes, more evidence really that this is going to be a match. So you can put additional elements into your sensitive information types. And this will probably start to make a little bit more sense when I go through creating a custom sensitive information type. But here we can see that minimum 1 match should be found from the following elements. So we can do that by keywords. So we can do a list keyword UK NHS number and a list keyword UK NHS number underscore DOB. So that is one of those sensitive information types. So we go back to our list. It takes you back to the full list. Let's just take a look, for argument's sake, at another country. Let's go for, well, we can see Australia here, for example, and we can see we have an Australia bank account number here as an example. Lots of Australian ones, in fact, quite a few more Australia ones than UK. We seem to have a lot less baked in ones in the UK than we do in the than Australia has, but let's take a look at this one here, and the same sort of principle. We can see the matched items, the overview, being that this is a test tenant, we don't have anything like that just yet, and again this will start making a bit more sense as and when we get into the functions and features and tools that actually use and reference these sensitive information types. These are things that are there to be used by other tools in Purview rather than something in and of themselves are not so much relevant, but they're obviously relevant, but hopefully you get what I mean. But here we go, detects an Australian bank account number, confidence level medium in this case, and then the pattern and the character proximity again. We can add supporting elements, and we can add, in this case, we see another pattern here. So we've got different pattern settings there for this particular sensitive information type. So let's go and just have a brief scroll through the list. And what we can do is we can just collapse that side panel there and get ourselves more screen space. So, and we can see that we've got some differences in terms of the types that we already referenced. So there's entities, which are pretty much as described. An entity-based one would be an actual regulatory standard, whereas we have credential type ones here. So we can see Azure AD client secret and Azure AD user credentials and that sort of thing. That really should say Entra ID now, but obviously the system has not caught up. So anything that is credential based in terms of logging in with valid credentials can be considered a sensitive information type that can be referenced by different policies throughout Microsoft Purview and decisions made based on that process. So imagine client access tokens or client secrets or user credentials when being accessed and processed. Certain triggers can be triggered, for lack of a better term, and then decisions taken and recorded and be viewed in alerts and incidents and so on and so forth. So you can see the sheer scale of what we have available in here. Different countries, there's Belgium there, for example, Brazil, Canada. There's a very good chance that what you need is going to be available in these sensitive information types. Should that not be the case, though, you can create your own sensitive information type. Right from the button here at the top, the plus sign, create sensitive info type, and it takes you into a wizard to begin doing so. So quite often when creating a sensitive information type for an organization, it tends to be very, very unique to that organization. It might be something like an employee ID reference number or a customer number ID or something like that. And you need to put something in that that equates to that. So obviously put in a good name and a good description. So what we could do is we could put in an example of a customer number and then put in a description here as well. Always enter a very detailed description. I will just put in customer number again there just for ease. And then we can go on to patterns. Now here, we learn that sensitive info types are defined by one or more patterns, as we saw by looking at some of those existing ones, the built-in ones. And each pattern must contain a primary element and a confidence level, but you can also include supporting elements and additional checks to further refine the evaluation and detection of matching items. And we can learn more about defining patterns here. So we will open that link up. And as ever, you know how much I love learn.microsoft.com. We can make this available to you right from the description of the video. So there's some good stuff in here that is going to be very valuable to us. And it tells you, as we've already said, identifying and classifying sensitive items under your organization's control is the first step in the information protection discipline. And it really is. You do this before anything else, which is why it is number one in the exam guide. And just while we're here, let's just have a quick look at some of the early content here. Purview provides 3 ways of identifying items so they can be classified: manually by users, automated pattern recognition, like sensitive information types, that's what we're talking about here, and machine learning. And these SITs are pattern-based classifiers that detect sensitive information like social security, credit card, bank account numbers to identify sensitive items to match to any of these instances that you may occur. So here we go, and it's referencing the fact that Microsoft does provide that large number of pre-configured SITs, or you can create your own. And this is a good place to show you that sensitive information types can be used by all sorts of tools within Microsoft Purview, as we already alluded to. And it shows you exactly what does reference them. We already referenced some of the more commonly known ones, like Purview data loss prevention policies, sensitivity labels we talked about, retention labels, insider risk management, communication compliance, auto labeling policies, and Microsoft Purview. So there we go. Have a look at these and you can learn more about them. But let's have a look at creating our custom sensitive information type. We can create a pattern first. So at a minimum, a pattern should have a confidence level and a primary element to detect. Adding supporting elements, character proximity, and additional checks will help to increase the accuracy. So first we've got to select our confidence level. If we click on the information part here, it tells us that this reflects the confidence of the match, which typically increase when supporting elements are detected along with this primary element. So the more supporting elements you specify, the higher confidence level you should select to ensure the matched items contain the sensitive info you're looking for. For example, matches with a high confidence level will contain more supporting elements in proximity of the primary element, whereas matches with a low confidence level would contain little to no supporting elements in close proximity. So that's your rule of thumb. If you're going high confidence, add some more supporting elements, and you can add them down here. So as you can see, we can choose between high, medium, or low. Let's just leave it as high for now. Let's look at our primary element. What does it tell us about this? This is the main info you want to detect in the content. You can define the primary element using a regular expression, or a regex as it's more commonly known. You can add a keyword list or a keyword dictionary or functions. So let's have a look. Let's add our primary element, and you have these 4 choices. And depending on which you select, you'll get different types of options here. So we've selected regular expression here. I've got to admit I'm not that great with regular expressions. Let's take this, something I must learn a bit more about and become a bit more confident with. I'll get the Learn doc so you can take a look at that yourself. It is a bit of a niche art though. So you can enter your ID for a regular expression here. So give it a a unique ID, and if you change that ID of an existing regular expression, a new one with this ID will be created. It doesn't update the one that you selected. So you can copy from an existing one that's built in. So let's take a look at that. Let's choose from an existing regular expression, and there are certain built-in that Microsoft kindly provide for you to use. So you could go ahead and use these for your unique requirements. So there's a ton baked in there right into the wizard, or you can add them manually here, and it gives you advice here if you're not familiar with regex so much, as I am not really, and if I'm honest, I don't particularly want to be, but you can go off and learn this if it's relevant to your situation. This third-party tool here is useful for validating and testing your regex pattern. So take a note of this website here, regex101.com, and you can then put in your word match or your string match, and then you can make that more accurate by adding in regular expression validators, and there are items here, there are entries here that will do that for you. So and let's see what it says about expression validators. So these are functions used to perform additional validations on the regular expression pattern. For example, checksum functions like LUNCheck. So there we go. And we can learn more about validators here as well. So let's grab that, and we can have that included in the description for you. So that's just one of the 4 types you can add. We'll cancel off that because I want to show you the other options as well. Let's just show you functions, and we can go through that. So functions are used to find the text that's formatted in a specific way. For example, func_credit_card, that's very hard to say, we'll look for 14 to 16 digit credit card numbers that can be formatted or unformatted, and which must pass the LUN test. We can choose the functions from here, and again we've got 185 baked in ones there that can be selected. So that's another way of defining your pattern. Back to our primary element, we can do a simple list here. So we can add a keyword list. So we can put in an ID for our keyword list name. We can put in our keyword groups, and we can do it in both case insensitive and sensitive, and we can match by words or we can match by strings, and we can add other keyword groups, and we can also do it by keyword dictionary. So unlike keyword lists, which are limited in size, keyword dictionaries provide easier management of keywords at a much larger scale. So we can learn how to create keyword dictionaries here. So we'll get the link to that for you. You can upload your own dictionary once you've created it, and that's based on a TXT file or a CSV file. Might be worth familiarizing yourself with that for the exam. It's the sort of question that you might get. Is it in TXT? Is it CSV? They might throw in some other formats there and a multi-choice question. Or you can choose from existing dictionaries here. So there are some dictionaries here that we can upload, and it doesn't really give you much of an idea in terms of what these are and why you should select each one, but let's just choose one. Let's choose this dictionary ICD-10 codes, and let's add that in. And there we go. So we've got that in now. Our dictionary large keywords, which will have a much larger set of items within it, shall we say. And here we can set our character proximity. So what's this going to do? When the primary element is matched, any supporting elements will match only when found within this proximity to the primary element. So the closer the primary and supporting elements are to each other, the more likely the detected content is going to be what you're looking for. So 300 is the standard, but you can adjust it up and down. Or you can override that and you can just choose anywhere in the document, but that will most likely take a bit more time and effort. So we will leave that at the suggested. So, as we've selected high confidence here, we might also want to add some supporting elements. So adding the supporting elements increases the likelihood that the detected info is a true match, therefore a high confidence match. For example, let's say you want to detect 9-digit employee ID numbers. Not all 9-digit numbers are employee ID numbers, so you can add supporting elements to look for related text near the ID numbers, such as keywords like employee, badge, and ID. So when the primary element is matched, any supporting elements will match only when found within the character proximity to the primary element. So there we go. So we can add in a group of supporting elements, and again you can do this by the same 4 principles of elements: regular expression, keyword list, keyword dictionary, or functions. So you could put in a keyword list in this case, for example, and you could give it a name. So we could call that for lack of inventiveness, I'll just call it items. And then we could put in things like ref, and then we could put employee and number, etc., etc. Hopefully you get the gist of that. So I've done that case sensitive rather than insensitive, so you might want to have those. We'll take those out in the separated by a new line. I don't in fact have to put a comma in, it's just by a new line. So there we go. And you might want to do ref employee like that there. And we can choose whether we want to match that by word or match that by string. I'll go by word. And then what we can do is we can add another keyword group if we want to, or two, or two, or two, or two. We'll just leave it at that for now, just a simple example. And there we go. We can choose to do some additional checks. What is this going to tell us? We can further refine the evaluation and detection of matching items and include additional checks that include or exclude specific text or patterns. For example, you can exclude specific 16-digit numbers that might incorrectly be identified as a credit card number. So there we go. So we can learn more about additional checks as well. Let's grab that for your reference in the description of the video. So what can we do here? We can exclude specific values. We can starts or doesn't start with characters, ends or doesn't end with characters, exclude duplicates, include or exclude prefixes, etc., etc. I won't do that. I'll keep this one as it is, and we can go ahead and create. Okay, so there we go. We have got our pattern selected. If we drop that down, we can get a recap of what we've set for it. We've got our primary element, which is a dictionary large keyword. We've got our character proximity. We've got some supporting elements. Next, because of what we've done, it's recommending that we have the high confidence level. It knows, because we've got that additional levels set, that it should be the high confidence, and so we can't actually select those other ones, which is absolutely fine. And there we go. We can go ahead and we can create our sensitive information type. There we go. So that just takes a few seconds hopefully to create. It's submitting away there, and once it's done, it's created. It's immediately available to include in your compliance policies. Okay, let's click on done, and let's take a look at what we just created. So let's just filter this list of sensitive information types. We'll just sort it by descending. So we should see that in the very bottom of the list there. There it is, our customer number. It's come through as an entity type, sensitive information type, and it's published by my tenant name. We can click on it. We can go in and we can see the overview of it and any matched items. There won't be just now because we've not assigned it to any policy, so it's not going to be doing anything yet. It's the sort of thing we can come back and look at these sort of matches when we get into things like sensitivity labels and DLP and whatnot. We can show you that in action. But you can see now, because this is a custom built sensitive information type, we can not only test and copy that, but we can edit and we can delete it because it's not a Microsoft baked in one. So we can go in and we can make some changes to that. Any changes you make though, just be aware that it's going to take some time to filter through. So that in essence is what we're talking about with sensitive information types. To give you just a quick idea in this video what that looks like within the scope of another service, let's just briefly go to DLP. We will be covering DLP in long form in this SC-400 series, but if we go to DLP policies here and we create a DLP policy, then it's going to take us right into selecting a template or create a custom policy. So what we can do is we can go for a custom policy, and we can go next and next again, and let's just skip the admin unit part. Don't focus too much on this at the moment. We'll get to that when we get into DLP long form. But what I want to get to is these advanced DLP rules, and if I create a rule, I can add a condition here. Content contains, and I want to add sensitive information types. So let me just look for customer number. There it is. It's available within DLP. So I can add that to my DLP policy. I can also add and reference that in sensitivity labels as well, in retention, other Microsoft Purview services. So you can see that sensitive information types are something that are referenced by other tools within Purview. So very, very useful indeed. And you probably, the eagle-eyed among you, probably spotted that trainable classifiers were also available within DLP, as should be EDM classifiers, and we will be getting to those on the next video. So that is our first video in our SC-400 exam guide series. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's move on to wind this up. There you go, that's us up and running for this brand new exam guide series, SC-400, exciting times. Nice to get SITs out of the way really, because let's face it, it's not really the most absorbing of subjects, but it is important. It's important to know, so I encourage you to know your SITs, know how it relates to other things like EDM and trainable classifiers coming up very shortly in subsequent videos, and it'll all start to make sense how those things are almost services to other functions within Purview, things like DLP and sensitivity labels and retention. These are all things that can use these types in order to detect and match content and then make decisions based on that. So a good starting point. Right, let's wind up the video. Please do remember to hit the subscribe button if you've not already done so. It helps me so much. It helps me to engage with you, my audience. It really, really makes a difference. So hit that button, it takes a second, and it's free, completely free. So why wouldn't you? Give me a thumbs up as well if you've liked this video, if you've managed not to snooze off during sensitive information types. Hopefully it has been useful, at least if not enjoyable. But please give me a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel, please do consider becoming a member as well. Hit the join button and see what perks you can get by supporting the channel and giving a bit back. Fantastic, I really do appreciate it. Right, I'll see you very soon in the next video. Check out my shorts as well. I'm not talking trousers here. My short form videos, as you would get on TikTok. I've started doing a few more of those lately. Check them out. Let me know what you think. I'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.